these 5 words in any of your conversations, you're probably doing more harm than good in how you look. So there are a lot of videos that are right now on YouTube talking about how you should look, the right dresses to wear and not to wear, not to cheapen your appearance.
10 things that cheapen your looks.
So if you want to look expensive, if you want to really look put together,
10 things that make your appearance look tacky.
Even if you have a designer bag and you have a cheap outfit, you will still end up looking cheap.
Your perfumes, your grooming, your teeth, all those things, your oral hygiene, the things that you should not be doing to cheapen your appearance. And these videos are great. I've watched a couple of them. But this video is to take it a step further and talk about some of the words, phrases that we use in our everyday conversations that is cheapening your appearance. That's making your Givenchy look like something else. That's not exactly elevating your look. Some of these words make you sound less confident, inarticulate. Some of them make you not look like you know what you're talking about or you have enough knowledge about what you're talking about. And they are actually quite surprising words that I will be sharing with you today. I'm not going to lie, I have had my fair share of struggles with communication, with using filler words like and while having the struggles, I actually decided to take active steps to get better, just look more polished, okay, in my conversations, in the way I look and I sound. And what I started to do was actually record myself, hear how I sound. And I did this when I started the podcast. Of course, the whole goal of the podcast was to help people get into tech, but a selfish part of it was also to improve my communication. 2 birds, 1 stone, right? And I was able to listen to myself, to hear where I was using filler words, to improve the parts of my communication that I felt needed to get better. And I did this by reading books, though I don't read as much as I really want to, but I started to read more books and I started to listen to books as well. I started to watch interviews and communicate more, to be honest, to just talk more and get better at doing it by doing it. And obviously I'm not an expert in talking about this. If you want to improve your communication, by all means, please go to an expert in communication. But I think that there are bits and pieces that I've learned in trying to improve on my own that I feel like I could share and might be useful to someone watching this video. The first shocking word that I realized that a lot of us use, a lot of you watching me right now use this word, is literally. And this word is one of the most overused, wrongly used, incorrectly used word in the history of time. And I get that a lot of people use this word to exaggerate a point, right? But I also think that because it is too frequently used, sometimes you can come across as ingenuine by overusing it, because the times that you actually now use it in the correct way that it should be used, when you're actually rightly or accurately describing a situation, then nobody takes you seriously, because you always say literally. And you say things like, I am literally, or I literally died of laughter. No, you didn't. You're right here. I can see you. You're alive and awake. So what are we talking about? Try as much as possible to use literally as accurately as you can, and don't use it when it's not necessary. Don't use it when you don't need to. People say, I'm literally starving, and there are people that are literally starving, but you have access to food. You can say things like, I'm hungry, or I'm very hungry, I'm famished. You don't have to say, I'm literally starving. This is not to restrict you from using literally, because a lot of us that are using literally, you just want to feel more. It's not like you have to use it. Some people just want to feel like they can use literally. Oh, I literally. No, please remove the literally if you don't actually mean to use it. This is one word that I think people overuse and is probably not elevating your look. Yes, I said it. Sue me. The second thing that I think, or the second range of words that I think does not elevate your look at all, are filler words. Things like actually, well, yeah. I'm 100% guilty of this, so I'm not judging. I'm not 100% judging you right now, like we are judging ourselves, to be honest. So, but the point is, these are words that should be less frequently used. And one thing I've learned about filler words is that you're in a better position when you actually pause instead of using filler words. Most times when we use filler words is because you're trying to fill that awkward silence with the filler words. So maybe you're talking in a meeting and you don't think of the exact word that you want to use in that particular sentence, and so you use a filler word until you can remember the word. It's actually better to pause. From what I've learned, it makes you look and sound more confident when you pause and think about what you want to say before speaking. And this takes some getting used to. I am still getting used to this personally, okay? But I want you to try an exercise, which I also did, like I mentioned before. Try to record yourself speaking. Try to record yourself having a conversation. Try to record yourself talking to somebody, just doing random stuff. And listen to the amount of times you actually use filler words. You'll probably be surprised. So instead of saying something like I was at the store the other day and like they didn't actually have what I was looking for, like I was so pissed, like you can just say, I was at the store the other day, they didn't have what I was looking for, I had to leave because it was getting late. Okay, and it still communicates what you're trying to say. It makes you look more polished, makes you look less juvenile. I don't mean any shade to anyone, but it just improves your appearance beyond just how you look. And this goes without saying. Like, I can't even believe I have to say this on this video, but it's profanity and using vulgar language. Using vulgar language in any shape or form, in any situation, whether it's serious, it's unserious, it just kind of makes you not look very polished. It makes you not look elegant. It's a bit crass, okay? So you don't want to be using vulgar language. As a Christian, I'm a Christian, it's not even right, because I mean, Bible says, let no evil communication come out of your mouth. Besides the fact that you don't want to be expressing yourself with that language, it also doesn't make you look polished. It also doesn't really show that you have a good use of English. Check your dictionary and look for other words you can use to describe a situation instead of using the F word and the S word. You want to make sure that you don't use vulgar language. Another thing that I discovered is that a lot of people that use vulgar language have found themselves in a place where they can't really help themselves. Sometimes even when they're like in a public setting or in a professional setting, they just use it because they are already used to it. And what I think is the best way to fix this situation is try to watch yourself, like when you're alone. Most times people get triggered to use this vulgar language when they are alone. Maybe you're cooking, something spilled, something fell off from your table at home, and you just use the word. You just use the word and you're like very upset and you curse. You want to make sure that you check yourself when you're alone. By the time you're able to control how you respond and express yourself in a better way, then you will be able to stop using those words in public settings. The next one is overused cliches and catchphrases. Right now, there are a lot of things that Gen Z people normally say. Things like, oh, that's on period, and that's on period, it's given, and things like that. I don't even know why I am doing that, because I don't know. I'm not here to diss anybody or to say what you're doing is wrong. Every generation has had the words that they use or the words they use to express themselves and feel good about, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing with using words like that too often is that you find out that, just like using profanity, right? When you get too used to using those kind of words in playful settings, then when you are now in a serious place, you go for an interview and they give you a question that is overwhelming. You're like, oh, it's given. When it's the interviewer is like, what's out? You're not, obviously you're not ready for this. Bye. See you. And there's a time and place, and you also want to know the limit. You don't want to overuse some certain words so that it doesn't affect like your real life, where you have to use better words, where you are not working with people that are also Gen Zs and understand what it's given is, or that's on period. That's something you also want to keep in mind for sure. The last but not the least one, guess what? Drum roll. I don't know how this is drum roll, but the last but not the least one is basically. Now people say basically all the time, and the truth is that basically is a filler word, just like and as and so. Just the same way people say so at the beginning of a sentence is the same way people say basically at the beginning of the sentence when they're trying to describe something they did or how something went. Now, usually when people use basically in a sentence, everything that comes after that word, it's simple. It's either they're trying to simplify something or make something look simpler than it actually is. Or for example, you're trying to simplify something for a 5-year-old and you're like, oh, basically, so this is what you do. using that word kind of makes them anticipate that everything you're trying to say after that is simple. The problem is this can be a double-edged sword, because when you say basically to simplify something, you also don't want to belittle something serious that you want to talk about. So for example, you've done work, you've done some tangible amount of work in your office, in your company, and you're trying to demonstrate what you've done. Now when you say basically, let me give you an example. You have built a website, you have done something for your company, and you go, basically the project involved creating a website for the client. And first of all, creating a website is not basic. I'm a software engineer, so I can tell you that for free. It's not basic. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Let's even say it was not basic for you. You copied and pasted the code, right? It wasn't that hard. The point is that there's still a tangible amount of work that went into creating that website, whether you copied or you didn't. So you don't want to communicate that the work that you did was basic. You want to make sure that you communicate that a tangible amount of your effort went into the work, and it involved some use of your resources and whatnot. You just want to make sure you're not trivializing or belittling the work that you've done. So you want to make sure that you're avoiding the word basically. Now, for example, in this same scenario, you could say something along the lines of the project entailed us developing a comprehensive website for the client. So that way it's clear that there was quite some tangible amount of work that went into it. You might not necessarily go into detail, but it's still clear that it wasn't basic work. These are some of the things that I think a lot of us need to minimize the use of, say less of in our day-to-day conversations. And it's not just about the appearance, because of course we're not trying to make people think that we're something that we're not. Well, I believe that even if you pretend for a while, eventually the truth comes out. So if you're just pretending to use some vocabulary here or there, pretending to look nice, at some point you get tired of pretending, right? This is something that goes beyond that. When you use some certain words, it certainly improves how you sound. It helps people to be confident in what you're saying, understand you better as well. You might not necessarily need to know every single thing about what you're saying, but if you are in a place where you have to communicate something, you don't have to belittle even the little that you know by the things that you say. I hope that makes sense. That's the purpose of me sharing this with you. It is so important to elevate your looks by proper grooming, dressing right, wearing your nice Gucci, looking good, taking care of your teeth, hygiene, all of that good stuff. But it's also equally important to make sure that the words that you're using in your day-to-day conversations do not make everything that you've packaged look bland. Okay, you want the words that you say to elevate more or make you look better as well. So that is it for this video, and I hope that you guys learned something from this. I want you to share in the comments with me some of the words that you still struggle with right now. For me, there are filler words, and I use a lot of when I speak, and I try as much as possible to reduce that. I use pauses when I can, but if you have other words that you struggle with, I really like you to share that in the comments, and maybe some words that you've also used that you've stopped using as well. I hope this video helped you. If you're yet to subscribe and like this video, please do. Welcome if you're here for the first time, and if you are an old viewer, subscriber, welcome back. Thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. You're trying to English, Susan. There was quite some tangible amount of work. Battery is really low. My battery. Bye. Bye.